Well, hello again, and welcome to the latest edition of A Helminathologist's Guide to the Classical Organ. Many apologies for the rather large gap since the last episode, but there's been quite a lot going on in my day job, so it's taken a bit of time, and I've also had to learn some new music and get it to a suitable standard where I felt able to perform it here. Thank you too for the rather few letters and postcards that I've received, mainly from Mrs. Viney in Dorset saying, but when are you going to do another one? Because we keep watching the old ones and we'd like something new to watch. Well, here is a new one to watch. The only thing I would say is if you keep watching the old ones from this channel, you really probably should be getting out more. Anyway, what I'm going to play today is a piece of music by Arvo Pärt, who is a Estonian composer who was born in 1935 and has written quite a lot of religious music, and he uses this style that he calls tintinnabulation. So it's modern music. It has sort of meditative quality, again, a word I think I say quite often on this channel. And this piece of music is called Annum per Annum, for organ, obviously, and it was written for the 900th anniversary of the Speyer Dome Church in Germany. And I first heard this actually at an organ course I was on in London, and they each evening there was a concert by people who were on the course. And so I was sitting in the church and facing the altar, and the organ was behind the congregation up in in the gallery at the west end of the church. And this starts with a great big chord that repeats with this rhythm, this dotted rhythm. And I'd never heard this before, and this huge chord started, great big loud chord. And I was kind of entranced at that moment. And then after that big chord, as I'll explain in a moment, then it comes into this rather quiet bit of music that then goes through a crescendo again. Anyway, it seems somewhat fantastical music, and I bought the book, which I have here. And I was just kind of interested to look at it because it's quite interesting how it's written. It's in this really odd key signature, which I'm trying to remember what it is, 39/8, so 39 quavers to the bar. And in fact, if you look at it, there's only one bar per line of music, so these great big long bars. So it's all very curious. And for a long time, I didn't play it at all because it just looked impossible. But then I spent some time and figured out it's not quite as hard as it looks. So I've already given away the starting bit. It starts with this great big chord that repeats in this dotted rhythm. Now, I'm not going to play that for you and this is actually very much an incomplete form, so I'm not going to play the very beginning bit and the very end bit, and that's because of, shall we say, a limit of the organ that I have behind me here. So this big chord starts, and you can just, it's read music, it just repeats there, and here it says in German, it says Wiederholung des Zweitakt, so which means repeat for 2 bars. And then the next bit here it says Ausschalten des Orgelmotors, which means turn off the organ motors. And what this means is turn off the machine that is blowing air into the organ. And what happens if you do that is you're still playing this chord in this dotted rhythm, but the air is no longer being replaced. So actually the air reservoir, the wind chest is called, just diminishes. So the organ gets quieter and quieter and makes some slightly odd noises until it goes down to silent, and then it tells you to turn, in German again, Einschalten des Orgelmotors, to turn on the organ again. Now, this organ here, because it's electronic, if I turn it off, it just goes completely silent and nothing works. So I can't actually play that bit as it's intended. So you'll have to, as I'll say later on, listen to a proper recording to hear that. And indeed, at the end as well, then we kind of do the reverse. You don't start with the organ off, but actually you start with a related chord in a very quiet registration, then it gets louder and louder and louder to the maximum, to a very loud volume. And again, I can't easily do that on this instrument behind me, so we won't do that bit either. So very much an incomplete performance, but really the meat of the music, as it were, is in the middle bits, which are in 5 parts, and they're or 5 sections, I should say, and they're written around the Latin Mass, the 5 parts of the Latin Mass. And they're just written as letters, so they're KGCSA, which is the Kyrie, the Gloria, the Credo, the Sanctus, and the Agnus Dei. And what happens, the music starts in D minor, very quietly, and you'll see the registration I have behind me, which is for the Kyrie bit, the K. It just has a one stop, as one light per keyboard, and it's from memory, it's a 2 foot, so it's a very high pitched sound, so it's very gentle and bouncing around. And the next bit is a little bit louder, and the next bit is a bit louder and faster again. So that third bit being the credo, and that's the central part of this, because the first part of that is in the minor key, and then the second part then changes into the major key. And then for the Sanctus, we come to the loudest bit, which basically has all of the stops on. If I just press the registration for that, you'll see all those lights lit up just above the top keyboard because we've got a heavy registration there. And then right at the end, with the Agnus Dei, we come back to a very quiet registration, so you can see a few things illuminated there, including a tremulant, so it's a more gentle sound. So I'm going to play these 5 pieces just in sequence, and you just will have to imagine there's these big chords at either end. I've commented before, I think, when we played some other music with Bach and so on, that one has to use, shall we say, educated guesswork to know the registration that one should use. Here, the other part very precisely tells you the registration to use. So it says here for this first part, the K, each of the 3 keyboards have a 2 foot flute stop, and the pedal is a 4 foot, so an octave lower. A little bit more complicated for the next one, but it tells you very precisely, and actually this instrument is able to do that. So I hope you enjoy these pieces, these pieces of music, with the caveat that you're missing the top and tail, which is just not really possible on this instrument. Of course, the health warning, as ever, this will sound dreadful on a laptop or anything like that. So the best hi-fi you can, giving the recording limitations here. And of course, if you get a better recording by a professional, that would be even better. And in fact, the best thing to do is to hear this live if you get the opportunity. I hope you enjoy this.